So, I'm just so thankful for UP Visayas and Catalyst for inviting me here. It's my first time in Iloilo, and it's just so beautiful. You guys are under the stars, you're in the campus, so cold air and everything. And it's just an amazing thing, like on a Friday night, you guys are here to learn more about art, more about creative, and opening your minds about the world. So anyways, I have a question for you guys. Who loves to travel? Sino mahilig magbiyahe? Everybody does! Everybody does love to travel. Climbing mountains, going to different places, exploring the world. I have another question for you guys. So wait, I'd like to personally introduce myself. So, I'm Mejia. I'm actually just a 21-year-old ordinary kid who loves to travel, climb mountains, and explore the world. So, I'm aspiring civil engineering in UP Diliman, all the way north. And I have a question for you guys to keep in your mind. This question. What do you want out of your life? Like, do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be a photographer, a musician? Something. What do you want out of your life? So, when I was 13 years old, I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And it was only at that time, because of my father, where I really found my element. This is me when I was 13. I didn't know anything back then. All I knew was like watching SpongeBob SquarePants or like playing Pokemon games. And one day, my dad told me, "Oy, tara, natin tayo bundok." Era ko naman, like a child, saying yes to everything. I said yes. Yeah, I want to climb a mountain. And apparently, it was the tallest mountain in Malaysia. And I didn't know anything except climbing Mount Makiling or Mount Samat, so may stairs lang, ganun. But I felt in my element. I was wet, it was raining the whole time. My shoes were so muddy. I was soaking wet, it was so cold, maybe like around 5 degrees Celsius. And at that moment, reaching and climbing the mountains, scrambling on the rocks and everything, I told myself that when I turn 18, when I turn into college and I can legally travel alone without my parents, I told myself, I did. And so I did. When I was graduating in high school, going into college, when I turned 18, I saved enough money, tutoring, doing odd jobs, and I booked a piece of sale fare to Vietnam. My first ever solo trip outside the country, and I didn't know anything about traveling. And I couch surf. So couch surfing is like like a Tinder, but for travelers. So you basically find a host family in a different country. And I was living in this place for about 7 days. It's not a bed. There's no cushion. I didn't know what I got myself in. I was sleeping on a bed under mosquito nets for about 7 days. It was so warm, and I was just living in the shanties of Vietnam, on the railroad tracks. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was 18. I was like, oh my God. But I met the best local family that I've ever had. And they were so hospitable, and they owned the best tasting Vietnamese noodles called pho. And it was the most delicious thing I've ever tried. But more than that, I got to travel to see nature. And I believe this was the element. Seeing one of the world's greatest, top of the 7 wonders of the world, Halong Bay, I felt like I needed to take these moments into my life. Looking back at the 13-year-old kid that wanted to travel the world and conquer the world. And through that, I got my first ever camera. I was expecting like an SLR for my birthday or something like that, but I got to save money enough to buy my first ever camera. I still use it today. It's a Canon G7X, and it's just a point and shoot. But using this camera, I was able to go around different places in the Philippines, around different provinces from the North Luzon. This is taken in Palawi Island in the North Cagayan. And I get to borrow some photographs, cameras from my friends. This is the first time I got to dive and see the Pomican. It was one of the most majestic things I've ever seen. I was going to beaches, taking astrophotography, being at around 3 a.m. in the morning, even if it was cold, hanging ng amihan, mararamdaman mo, just stargazing, just opening myself to the beauty of the Philippines. We are so lucky to be living in such a beautiful country. And I tell you, just camping under the stars is one of the most amazing things. I was going in my hometown in Katipunan, in Quezon City. It's 1 hour away from the mountains. I would take a jeep after class or like 2 a.m. in the morning. I would ride a jeep, go, even if I'm alone, and go to the mountains. I felt at home in the mountains. I was going into waterfalls. swimming in the clear lakes. This was taken in, I think, Dumaguete, in Pulang Bato, and just experiencing nature. But more than that, amidst the waterfalls and stars, I fell in love with the mountains. I consider like the mountains my girlfriend or something like that, but it's just the most amazing thing. I was camping, this was taken in Benguet, and I was under the stars, even if, imagine, we're in the mountains in the Philippines and it could get as cold as 0 degrees. Yung mga dahon naninigas na, nag-yellow. But sunrise, early in the morning, just climbing. I kept on climbing. I told myself, 3 years ago, I was 18 3 years ago, I'm 21 now. But 2016, I made a commitment. I committed to the mountains that I would climb every weekend, like earn some money, work on photography, practice my craft. I kept on practicing, I kept on climbing and climbing and climbing. 2 a.m. in the morning, so dark, I was alone, and just capturing the beauty, the mossy forest, the planet. And this is when I fell in love with mountains. I took a selfie after this 4-day climb in Mount Alomo in Davao, exploring the mossy forests and the mountains. The mountains is basically the element that I fell in love with. Capturing the most amazing landscapes. We did a documentation of Mount Hamiguitan, the only UNESCO World Heritage Park in Mindanao. And these are bonsai trees. Imagine we have bonsai trees in the Philippines. And it's the largest ever in the world. It's a whole hectare forest. Photography and mountaineering became my passion, going and exploring the Philippines. And that question that I asked you guys a while ago, what do you want out of your life? It changed. It changed for me when I got to experience the bigger world, the bigger picture of this planet. That question changed into, what are you willing to suffer for? Because I realized I'm still working in a part-time job. I have to commit to my studies and graduate as a civil engineering student. But I have to keep continuing my passion, or else it will die. And that's the sacrifices that you have to commit in order to achieve what you really want out of your life. So what are you willing to suffer for? This was one of my pioneering expeditions. We were living in this boat for about 6 to 7 days in the most remote islands in the Philippines, in the Babuyan Islands. We were sailing from Luzon. We started from Tuguegarao City. From Manila, we rode a 13-hour bus ride to Tuguegarao City, a 6-hour jeepney ride to the Claveria port where we started our volcanic expedition. So we were sailing for about 6 to 8 hours every day for 6 days, under the sun, under the heat, the salt in our skin. And it was one of the most majestic places I've ever seen. I never imagined, like, wow, really these places exist. This was taken at sunset in Calayan Island in Narugundungan Hills. We were chasing the sunset, chasing the stars. We were sleeping late, we were waking up early just to get photos like these. It was one of the most amazing things in the world. This is in the summit of an unexplored volcano, documented only by Fieldbox aerial drone. We were able to climb to the summit, and it felt like we're in a different country or something. We were climbing volcanoes. This is a volcano, that's a crater. In the middle of that is a circle ring where it was still misting or like steaming from the sulfuric. You could smell the sulfur. You experience like the creatures that you can never see anywhere else. This is like one of the largest spiders I've ever seen, and a flying lizard. But what was crazy about this expedition is we got to map out the youngest island in the Philippines, the Dicas volcano. It's not even in Google Maps. I was the youngest in the team. I was 20 at that time, and everyone I was with was around like 30 years old or above. And it was such an amazing feat to be the youngest person on the youngest island in the Philippines. We were chasing, kept on climbing mountains. This volcano in Camiguin de Babuyanes. And it wasn't the trip. I was riding a boat. We had no signal, we had no internet for 7 days. And we were riding on the boat from the last stop of Camiguin de Babuyanes back to the main Luzon island. And when I got a text, saying, Gab, check your email. I was like wondering why. Why? Then I checked my email, and I saw apparently like I won an international contest, and that international contest brought me to the world. It opened my horizons in seeing my element. I was given a list of all the places, basically all the countries in the world where I could travel. We will send me there. This photo was the one that made it. This photo has been like the most, I don't know, the photo that I really treasured the most. This is the photo of the Gabaldon floodplains in Nueva Ecija. And people say, oh, nag-drone photo ka, but we climbed the mountain for this to see one of the most breathtaking landscapes and floodplains in our country. And I flew all the way there alone. This December, I spent Christmas, New Year without my family in a different continent that doesn't know how to speak Tagalog, doesn't know basically a whole different universe. So I flew from the Philippines all the way to the tip. This is Antarctica, all to the southernmost city of this planet. 60 hours flight, 5 flights, and I got to see the most breathtaking landscapes. I couldn't imagine these places exist. This is a river, a meandering river over the plain, and this was like the first photo I took on the plane to that place in Ushuaia. You're riding on lightweight plains, and icy mountains and ice-capped mountains. Different lakes. This is taken in Ushuaia, Laguna Esmeralda. And the wetlands, so many beautiful landscapes where I felt at home. But it was tiring. It was really tiring to see these places. I would be hiking for the whole day, then get back to my tent, sleep, cook, wash my stoves, wash everything, then repeat. Basically, eat, sleep, climb, repeat. But being able to see these places in my own eyes, even if I was alone, even if I spent Christmas alone, even if I felt tired, it was worth it. Everything was worth it. Seeing the glaciers, seeing these blue lakes, these ice caves. I got my tripod. I would be alone, so nobody would take a photo. There would be no one to take a photo of me. So I would get my tripod, even if it was cold. The weather would be changing, like it would snow 5 minutes, and the next minute it would be raining, the next minute it would be flooding, then sunny, then snow, sunny. So you have to take off your jacket on. It was crazy. The glaciers, like, I was living my whole life when I was until 20 into like forests, living in forests, climbing volcanoes. But out of nowhere, this new world opened my eyes. This is one of my favorite photos. This is the golden crown of the Andes. This is Mount Fitzroy, and this was taken at around 3 a.m. It was summertime, so the sun would set late. It would set around 12 midnight. So I have to be climbing alone in the forest. Actually, the funny thing about this is one of the scariest moments of my life. I was walking at the 3 a.m. alone in the forest, and you know yung parang movie, na parang sobrang dilim, lalakad, mga cartoon. It's out of nowhere, like white eyes appear out of your in front of your face. That happened to me recently, and I was like so shocked, sobrang natakot ako. Parang because apparently in this place, there are mountain lions that would kill you. Like last year, may isang babae namatay kasi she got attacked by a mountain lion. So I got so scared, like white eyes out of nowhere appeared in front of me. But luckily it was a deer. So parang musa lang pala. But that deer was rare. It's rarer than the mountain lion. Seeing a mountain lion. And you have to report it to the rangers after going back down to the mountain that you see one. But we were camping at night. Even if it was cold, the mountains. This was taken around 4 a.m. in the morning. So we would really sleep late around like 10 p.m. We would only have 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep every night, every single night. I was living there for 7 weeks, about 2 months of my life. But the sunrise was one of the most beautiful things. It turned the mountains into red and I said, wow, everything is beautiful. Like, even if I had no control of the weather, I had no control of anything. But this was taken at around sunrise. It was so cloudy, it was drizzling. Suddenly a rainbow out of nowhere appeared in the back of the mountain. So imagine that light is the first light. So we call that the alpine glow. The alpine glow is like the first rays of the sun touching the summit. The first rays of the sunrise touching the mountain. And that's me. I put my tripod up high on a rock, and I even fell and scraped my knee. But just getting to capture these moments, these hard moments, you can imagine walking on glaciers, beaches beyond. And this is where I really felt the one thing that every one of us have: passion. Passion. Passion isn't just about having talent. It's not just about creativity or having like. Passion is about sacrifice. Passion is about loving something that you're really into. Arts, be maybe a medicine, engineering, whatever it is. Passion is the ultimate goal. I will be climbing mountains. This is at the summit of the tallest mountain in Northeast Asia in Taiwan. And I was lucky enough to be there, join a crew with the some Filipino mountaineers. And this is also one of my favorite photos. This is a couple I saw. And they were watching the sunrise at high altitude. So imagine the oxygen is so thin at high altitude that people die sometimes, most of the time. But the summit, the sunrise, I got to travel all over because of this passion that I pushed and pushed. This is the summit of Mount Fuji. And this was like taken at around, I think 11 p.m. Mount Fuji. So those lines are like hikers climbing with torches. This was my recent trip. I just came back from Japan for a project 2 days ago, and I'm kind of sick actually, but it's worth it. Like, even in the snow, even at winter, you'll be doing things you love. This is Mount Fuji. And one of my biggest trips actually was last year, October, in India. And this is one of the craziest things I've done. Because being in India isn't just about the culture, isn't about just learning things and meeting different people, different kinds of people, experiencing different moments, nightlife, religion, people. This was the first time I got to touch or step on the Himalayas. This is where Everest lies, the tallest mountains of our planet. We were tracing the Ganges River, so we were tracing that river all the way to those mountains. About 10 days, we were tracing the Ganges River, the most holy sacred river of India. But despite all these beautiful photos, it was hard. Imagine this is the gloves that should keep you warm. It was frozen, solid. It would get down at least negative 20 degrees at night. Your head will hurt. One of my teammates were vomiting already. Some people had to be brought down. In the encounters, we saw like footsteps of snow leopards, foot tracks. But seeing the sunset, the sunrise, and the stars, this is national. I wish everyone pushed for it. This is Meru. We call it Meru because this is the center of the universe. And we were so lucky enough, the Indians call it the center of the universe, Meru. And this is the mountain in Meru. And we were so lucky enough that the Milky Way rises straight, perfectly aligned to that gate. The eyes and the soul of the universe. Mount Shivling, one of the tallest mountains of our planet. And climbing it all. Like after 30, what about it? What about this passion? After 37 provinces in the Philippines, 24 countries, 5 continents, and I don't know how many more mountains, this question that I asked you guys, like, what are you willing to suffer for? Because what are you willing to suffer for is about your passion. It changed into something different. I realized that I needed to do more. I needed to put this passion into work. Climbing mountains, what could I do with it? What could I do with photography? What could I do? Like, what you can ask yourself, what can you do with your degree? What can you do with whatever these things are? And it changed the question of who are you willing to suffer for? Not what are you willing to suffer for? Who are you doing these things for? Is it for yourself? Because the mountains that I climb, the people that I meet, this is what I do it for. The element that I believe, where I push it. For these kids in the Babuyan Islands, my family, the mountains. This was taken at Christmas Eve. Imagine it would not be set. The sun would set late. Do it for the conservation of our planet. ducks and wetlands, these endangered species, especially like climate change, how devastating our places are. The most beautiful places of our planet are dying. And the most amazing people, the indigenous people I love in the Philippines. These are the three Lumad kids I met in Davao when we were climbing. And I was just playing with them, and they were just the cutest munchkins. And the future that we see, these two kids that I saw like watching over the beach of Palawan. And again, that who are you willing for and what are you willing for? I just like to sum it up to two things. It's about passion and purpose. It can't be passion or purpose. It can't just be all passion. It should be passion and purpose. Because I believe like we are all on the climb to the greatest mountain in our life. This is like why people ask me why we climb. Why do I climb mountains? Even if I have to suffer, even if I have to risk my life or something like that. I think I associate climbing mountains to life. Because life, you have no control of the weather, you don't have control of the future. We would be climbing up the mountains even if it's hard, even if it's difficult. Sometimes it's going up, sometimes it's going down. But each one of us has a different pace, and each one of us has a different own summit that we want to achieve in our lives. And I guess that reminds me of maybe if it's in all its entirety, that climbing a mountain is equating to living life. Why not? So I guess that's about it. So if I have anything, keep exploring. And if you have any more questions or something like that, you can hit me up on Instagram or check my website on on-climb.com. Thank you so much.